adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends. Starring that jet-age aerial ace, Rocket J. Squirrel. And his pal, Bullwinkle the Moose.
Hi, glad to see you again.
Likewise.
We got some great things on the show today.
Like what? Like what?
Well, you ought to know, Bullwinkle. You're in some of them.
Well, let's get started.
In our last episode, Bullwinkle had been moose-napped by a band of hateful hatfuls. Rocky tried to follow him, but ran into a little trouble with a tree. Now Bullwinkle is being carried into a sinister hut deep in the woods where a rather unpleasant reception committee awaits him.
Okay, fearless leader, there is Moose. How do we get him to lead us to Curver Derby?
Very simple, bad enough. We simply brainwash him.
Sure enough, the hapless moose was taken into a small room and left there with 3 expert brainwashers. Hours went by, and finally the door swung open.
Moose is brainwashed, yes?
Moose is brainwashed, no.
Why is this?
Not enough brain to wash.
I sure feel clean-headed, though.
Bad enough, we must get Moose under our control.
Easy, boss man. Looky here.
What's that?
Beautiful dreamer hypnotism kit.
How does it work?
First, I use little Daisy Buzzer to get his attention. Then I use whirling disc to focus his eyes. Then he's put on special Google glasses. Look deep into his eyes and say, "Sleep, you are going to sleep." Pretty good, huh, boss? Boss, fearless leader. Hey, wake up!
What were you saying?
Ain't my hypnotism
It'll never work.
Oh, boy. Let me give it a try, fearless leader. What have we got to lose?
Billions of dollars and world domination.
I mean, aside from that.
Oh, very well. Go ahead.
And Boris slipped into the room with Bullwinkle.
Hey, it's Mr. Devil Dan.
Oop. You kidding, Moose? I be felonious Floy, I be.
I would have swore you had a beard just a second ago.
No, I was just looking on you upside down like this.
Oh.
Now, attention. Watch the... Hey, Moose, watch the disc.
But it was too late. Bullwinkle was already in a deep trance.
You couldn't do this to me. I paid $2.98 for this thing. You got to watch the whirling disc like this. You got to look at the glasses when I say sleep. Sleep. You're going to...
And so an hour later, when an impatient, fearless leader opened the door of the room, he saw 2 figures sitting in a trance.
Townsend Donut, bad enough. Wake up.
Please, Mama, not in the head. Did you... Oh, it's you, fearless leader.
Get to work on that Moose.
Right away, bossman. You are going to look for a derby.
Yeah, derby.
Meanwhile, back in the woods, Rocky had finally succeeded in getting the trap off his foot.
There! Now I'm free to follow Bullwinkle. But how?
The sharp-eyed squirrel noticed that the bark had been knocked off several trees.
Aha! That's where Bullwinkle's antlers must have scraped against them.
And with an eye like an eagle, the plucky squirrel went from tree to tree until he reached the end of the trail.
Whoop!
Looking for somebody, stranger?
Was that you making these marks on the trees?
I cannot tell a lie. I did it with my little hatchet.
Say, what's your name?
Washington?
I'll bet your first name is George.
No, Martha.
Well, my mistake. I was looking for a moose.
Oh, him? He's in there.
Fearlessly, he zoomed through the window of the sinister cottage only to find it empty.
Where can he be?
Where indeed? For at that moment, Bullwinkle was walking in a trance just ahead of Boris and Fearless Leader.
Derby. I must find a derby.
It's working, fearless leader.
And there's the derby now.
Now?
Already?
So soon? Has Bullwinkle really ended his quest? We'll find out next time in Under Bullwinkle's Bowler or The Wide Open Spaces.
Fish biting, son?
Nary a nibble all day, Pop.
Well, it's no wonder you can't catch a fish using a donut for bait.
I know, but I've been digging for worms all afternoon, and I couldn't find a single one. Besides, the donut's chocolate.
That's true, but you can't expect to find worms in the afternoon. You have to get up early. Remember the old saying?
It's the early bird that gets the worm.
Now, you take the fable of the robin, the pelican, and the angleworm. It was a great day for the kingdom of Camelittle, which, needless to say, was a great deal smaller than Camelot. For on this day, King Leo I was to be crowned absolute monarch of all he surveyed.
But I can't see a thing. This bucket is clear down over my eyes.
I am sorry, Your Grace. It's the only thing we could find for a crown.
Good King Leo I refused to go through with the coronation. It was then the loyal Camelittle Lillians took matters into their own hands. Working in the jewel mines night and day, they succeeded in unearthing 10 fabulous gems which they presented to His Highness.
Now we're getting someplace.
The gems were given to the royal crown maker, who, grabbing the first thing at hand, set them into a large beer mug.
How about that? I'm the only king in the world who has a crown that sparkles and has a head on it.
So King Leo was crowned, and all went well for a fortnight. Then one morning, as he sat on the throne,
Hey, Your Highness, hey, you lost one of your rocks.
sure enough, where once a gleaming ruby had nestled, naught but a hole remained. Summoning the royal private eye, the king demanded an explanation.
After much consideration and perusal of the facts, I have reached a definite conclusion. I know who did it.
Who?
A thief?
Oh.
It was decided that a more drastic measure be taken.
We shall lock the crown in the royal safe.
And as an added precaution, the king went with it. Unfortunately, when the safe was eventually opened...
Good Lord, it's incredible.
Yes, the amethyst was back in the crown, but the king was gone. There in His Highness's place was a ransom note.
Leave 5 million finsters inside the refrigerator by midnight or the king dies.
There was nothing left to do but comply with the fiendish request. 5 million finsters were placed inside the refrigerator, but on the outside an elaborate alarm system was installed.
The clock in the tower will strike 4 at midnight. The door of the refrigerator will swing open, the light will come on, and we'll have the villain.
At exactly 12 o'clock midnight, the clock in the tower struck 4, the refrigerator door opened, and the light did come on. And there on the top shelf, counting the finsters, was of all things a worm.
200 finsters, 201 finsters.
Seize him!
You've got to get up early in the morning to catch me.
And with that, he swooped up his ill-gotten finsters and made good his escape. The fox was no fool. In order to get the king, he had to catch the worm. But foxes are not worm catchers, birds are. Birds like robins and pelicans.
The fate of the king is in your hands. Get that worm.
So they began their pursuit immediately, following the worm's trail, which led to a tiny hole in the ground.
That's his owl, all right.
How can you tell?
Listen,
1,008,000 finsters, 1,009,000.
we'll smoke him out.
Taking a bit of incense and a dash of myrrh, the robin opened a tiny box, placed the mixture inside, lit it, closed the box, and dropped it into the hole. Immediately, the box popped back up.
Open before Christmas. Now, isn't that nice?
Righto, for a worm, that's a pretty sweet gesture.
I thought worm catching was for the birds.
Oh, it is. We tried every afternoon for a week to catch that little rascal.
Afternoon? No wonder. Even I know it's the early bird that catches the worm.
By golly, he's right.
So the next morning, in the chill early dawn, they resumed the hunt.
Man, it's colder than a well digger's ankles.
You can say that again.
It's colder than a
Never mind. Look, in the road ahead.
There stood the worm, counting the last of his finsters.
4,900,099. 5 million. It's all here.
So are we.
The worm soon found himself behind bars. The king was returned to his throne. The worm got 10 years, and the robin and the pelican each got a severe cold. Yes, although they'd caught the worm, the chill of the early morning laid them both up with a case of double pneumonia. And so you see, Junior, that's why I always say it's the early bird that gets the worm. True?
True. However, Pop, you got the last word wrong.
How so?
The way you told it, it's the early bird that gets the germ.
Charades with Jack from None, Mr. Know-It-All.
Hello there, friends. Today we benefit from my highly successful book, How to Teach a Mean Bully a Lesson at the Beach. First, it is essential to find a lovely young girl in front of whom you can show off by defending her honor. Pardon me, lovely lady, but I wish to defend your honor should a big, rough, mean, loathsome bully kick sand in your eyes and... Which brings us to point 2. Always be careful in selecting a real lady to defend. Ah, here's a real one. Now, we wait for a bully to come by and kick sand. Notice how I allow him to build up a false sense of security by pretending to ignore him. Now comes the really meaty part. See, for 3 months I study my book, How to Teach a Mean Bully a Lesson at the Beach. And now I'm ready. Pardon me, young lady, but should a bully come along, I am prepared to defend your honor. Notice that a bully is approaching. Pardon me, sir, but you are a cad. You threw sand at us, and I am prepared to teach you a lesson you will never forget. Ooh. Well, I lost the battle, but I've gained a friend. Right, little lady?
Gosh, Mr. Know-It-All, looks like your book was a failure.
No, Rock, it was a brilliant success.
Success?
Sure, look. That's the book she's been reading. Hello again, Peabody here. All through with your spaghetti, Sherman?
Couldn't take another bite, Mr. Peabody.
Good, then we're off to Italy.
For more spaghetti?
No, for a meeting with that illustrious Italian adventurer, Casanova. I instructed Sherman to set the Wayback Controls for 1755. Behaving in its customary magnificent fashion, the Wayback Machine took us to the main gate of Italiacatraz prison.
What are we doing here, Mr. Peabody?
We're waiting for Casanova.
Who's he visiting?
Himself. He's been in prison for 10 years.
What for?
For 10 years.
No, I mean on what charge?
Impersonating a Russian spy. Here he comes now. Even as I spoke, the gate opened and out came Casanova. In one hand was a large stone, which he proceeded to hurl through the warden's window.
What did he do that for, Mr. Peabody?
Offhand, I'd say for another 10 years. The guards quickly apprehended him, and he was quickly swallowed up behind the large gray walls. Luckily, it was visiting day, and we were allowed to see him in his cell. Well, Cass, what's going on?
Go away. I'm no need a mouthpiece. I'm very happy where I am.
But, Mr. Casanova, you've got to go home.
Yes, you're supposed to write your memoirs, you know.
Judge just to give me another 10 years. Hey, ain't that wonderful?
It was hard to understand why the legendary romanticist was ecstatic over being in prison. Then I saw the reason. So did Sherman.
Wow! Look, Mr. Peabody. Female guards.
I wouldn't mind doing 1 to 10 myself.
It's time for your exercise, Cass.
Hot lasagna.
Now, usually a prisoner goes to the exercise yard and plays a little handball, but in this prison it was different. Exercise consisted of 1 hour of cha-cha-cha. Not only that, but dinner consisted of not a tin plate shoved through a slot in the cell door, but a sumptuous banquet in the Escoffier room next to the torture chamber.
Pheasant or squab?
Pizza.
No wonder he doesn't want to leave.
Yes, but he's going to. We wasted no time in seeking out the warden.
Sure, it's all right to buy me if a Casanova goes home. I've been trying to get rid of him for 15 years.
Then we must make him want to leave.
Don't you worry about that.
The warden had a definite plan in mind. First, he cut out Casanova's cha-cha-cha exercises and sent him to work on the rock pile. But Casanova was more than equal to the occasion. He converted the rocks into beautifully sculptured statues.
Boy, I love my work.
Golly, Mr. Warden, he still doesn't want to leave.
Oh, no? I gotta wait to make him go.
Attention, convict number 8269, otherwise known as Casanova. You have a visitor in the yard.
Quick to obey, Casanova left his cell and adjourned to the large prison yard.
Now we fix him. I pull this lever that locks all of the cells, and a Casanova can't get it back in. He got to go home.
The wily warden pulled the lever, the cells closed, and indeed Casanova was locked out.
Hey, that's a dirty pool. Let me back in.
Casanova, go home!
It looked as if the warden's plan had succeeded. To celebrate, we accepted the warden's invitation to stay for dinner, and it was during the minestrone that the trouble began.
Quick, Warden, it's a break.
In a matter of minutes, searchlights were flooding the walls, but there was no sign of an escaped prisoner.
That's so funny.
Not really. You see, this isn't a break out, it's a break in. Sure enough, a check of the cells revealed that convict number 8269 was back.
Look who's here, Warden. You bad penny.
I give up.
You may, but I don't. Casanova will leave this prison within 60 seconds, or my name isn't...
Mr. Peabody.
Correct. I took the liberty of transferring all of the Italicatraz guards to another prison. Ah, here come the new ones.
But those ain't the lady guards.
Precisely. The only reason Casanova stays here is because he's surrounded by beautiful women. Watch how he reacts to this.
Hey, Sally, how come you growing a beard?
I ain't a Sally, I'm a Max.
Maxine?
Maximilian.
Maximilian? That's no fair. Let me out of here.
Jail was no longer jail to Casanova. He quickly departed.
Looks like he'll write his memoirs now, right, Mr. Peabody?
Oh, definitely, Sherman. And in his account of his sojourn at this prison, I hope he mentions the warden.
Yeah, the warden's a nice guy.
So nice that he paroled every prisoner in his prison.
And barrels, too.
Barrel, Sherman?
Sure, all those barrels have parole stickers on them.
Well, there's nothing unusual about that. We've all heard of parole out the barrel.
Well, last time it looked as if the search for the Kerwood Derby had ended. For in one of his better fiendish plans, Boris hypnotized Bullwinkle and sent him off to look for the fabulous bowler.
You must look for a derby. A derby.
A derby! A derby!
And in just a little while, Bullwinkle stopped and shouted,
There's the derby now!
See, fearless leader? When I fiendish plan 'em, they stay fiendish plan.
But look what derby he's pointing at.
Roller derby. Uh-oh. Try again, Moose.
And the hypnotized Bullwinkle tried his best. After a long hike, he pointed out the Kentucky Derby. And after a still longer hike, he pointed out the Brown Derby. But when the trio returned to Peaceful Valley, he still hadn't found the Kerwood Derby.
And what's more, look who's coming.
Sure enough, high above them, Rocky Squirrel was blazing a streak in the sky as he sought his pal.
Bullwinkle, where are you?
Did somebody call?
Quick, he's coming out of it.
Listen, Moose. When you wake up, you will look for the Kerwood Derby. The Kerwood Derby. Do you understand?
No, but I'll do it anyways.
Good. Now let's go before that nosy squirrel shows up.
No sooner had the villains hidden themselves than Rocky zoomed into the scene.
Bullwinkle! Bullwinkle, it's you!
It is?
Don't you recognize me?
I don't even recognize me.
I'm Rocky.
You sure are.
Don't you know me?
The voice is familiar, but I don't place the goggles.
I'm Rocky, your pal. We've been buddies for years.
What have you done for me lately?
Oh, come out of it, Bullwinkle.
Rocky, it's you.
Boy, you look like you're in a trance.
Yeah, but don't I always?
Something awful funny's going on in Peaceful Valley, Bullwinkle.
Really? I haven't heard a laugh yet.
What do you think?
I think I ought to get a derby.
What?
I don't know what it is. I just gotta have a derby.
It's working, fearless leader. You can always count on Hotshot Badenoff.
This is no time to buy a hat, Bullwinkle.
I can't help it, Rock. I got to find me a derby.
And Bullwinkle, still under Boris's control, began a hunt for a hat. And the first place he went to, of course, was a hat store.
So that's where we find the Kerwood Derby, eh, Badenoff?
But
Dozens of our smartest secret agents have combed the world for that derby. What chance do you think a stupid moose has of finding it in an ordinary hat store?
not very good, eh?
No chance at all, Mr. Not-So-Hotshot Badenoff.
Fearless leader.
What?
Give us a little smile.
Schweinhund!
Forget it.
You know, I think we shorten your name, Badenoff, from Hotshot to just Shot.
Meanwhile, inside the store, Bullwinkle was trying on hat after hat. None of them fit very well.
I can't understand it, sir. I've tried every size derby we have.
What size do you usually take, Bullwinkle?
Regular moose size.
What's that?
7 and 5/30 seconds.
7 and 5/30 seconds.
Unless I just got a haircut, then it's 7 and 3/30 seconds.
But nobody carries that size hat. It's ridiculous.
No derby, huh?
Now, wait. Just a minute.
Now, there's one hat that's been on our shelves for years and years. Maybe.
And the clerk climbed a high ladder and from a dusty shelf took down a hat box covered with cobwebs.
Does it have the size marked on it?
Let's see. Nope, just the name of it.
What's that?
Far as I can make out, it says the Kerward Derby.
Kerward Derby.
The Kerward Derby?
You notice kind of an echo in here?
Oh, don't miss the next episode if you can. Or can't. Or anyway, it's called $1 Million Carton or Jack in the Box.
Well, I guess that about wraps up another Rocky show.
Certainly hope you enjoyed it. I did. I always say...
Bullwinkle, time for us to go.
Already? Okay, but first, here are some of the people who made this show impossible.
That's not all.
My fingers get tired. Oop! Got away from me again.
Well, see you next time. Ready, Bull?